host, Sandy Shellis, and today we have a really shitty story to tell. Okay? Now, it involves the world's largest U.S. aircraft carrier. It's called the USS Gerald Ford, and it is having a lot of shitty problems. It is battling massive toilet failure amid Iran tensions. The U.S. Navy's largest and most expensive aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald Ford, is facing persistent sewage system failures as it heads towards the Middle East amid rising U.S.-Iran tensions. That $13 billion nuclear-powered warship has been at sea since June of 2025, and it is now in its 8th month of deployment, longer than the typical 6-month rotation. While Washington builds one of its largest naval forces in the region in decades, more than 4,500 sailors on board are dealing with a far more immediate problem: hundreds of non-functioning toilets. The USS Gerald R. Ford was commissioned in 2017 at a reported cost of $13.3 billion, making it the most expensive warship ever built. Designed to lead U.S. strike operations, the carrier supports more than 4,500 sailors and operates over 600 toilets divided into 10 independent zones. The vessel has been deployed since June of 2025. In January, it played a central role during the U.S. operations in Venezuela that led to the capture of President Nicolas Maduro. Now, following that mission, the deployment was extended again as tensions with Iran intensified. And who's making those tensions intensify? A standard peacetime aircraft carrier deployment typically lasts about 6 months. And the current deployment has crossed 8 months. And this could extend up to 11 months, according to reports cited by various United States media carriers. It would mark one of the longest continual deployments for a U.S. Navy carrier. The main problem is linked to the ship's vacuum collection, holding, and transfer, which is called VCHT system. The USS Gerald Ford uses a vacuum-based sewage system similar to those on cruise ships to save water. Reports say the system uses narrow pipes that cannot handle the heavy use by more than 4,500 sailors. If one valve fails, toilets in an entire section can stop working. Can you imagine how gross that's got to be? I mean, really gross. In March last year, the carrier recorded 205 toilet breakdowns in just 4 days. Now, during its 2025 deployment to Venezuela, it reportedly needed at least one sewage maintenance call every single day. Out of nearly 650 toilets on board, most are currently not working. Sailors have to sometimes wait up to 45 minutes in line. Hull technicians fixing the plumbing are working shifts up to 19 hours a day. Now, the clogs are mainly caused by calcium buildup in the pipes and by improper items like t-shirts and mop heads being flushed. Each major acid cleaning to fix the system is about $400,000. Our taxpayer money. The Ford is now headed towards West Asia as U.S. President Donald Orange Turd warns of possible military action against Iran. It is rare for two U.S. aircraft carriers to operate simultaneously in the Middle East. Currently, Washington has more than a dozen warships deployed in the region, including the USS Abraham Lincoln, 9 destroyers, 3 literal combat ships. Holy crap. Literally. U.S. officials have maintained that plumbing failures are not affecting operational readiness. However, sailors have reported describing unsanitary conditions and growing fatigue as the extended deployment continues. Most sailors on board are in their early 20s. Can you imagine the size of their crap? The prolonged deployment has meant missing major life events, including birthdays, weddings, funerals, and even the birth of children. Communication restrictions during sensitive operations limit regular contact with families, so some sailors have reportedly indicated plans to leave the Navy after the current mission. In April to May 2025, the USS Harry S. Truman lost several fighter jets during operations against the Houthi rebels in the Red Sea. Subsequent investigations linked the losses to operational strain and crew fatigue. Captain David Scarosi of the Ford acknowledged concerns in a letter to sailors, stating that when the country calls, the crew responds. Now, this is a really shitty situation, but of course, the comedy is just all over the place. And it should be fixed, but you think for all that money and for such an important thing like amassing all this power on the perimeter of Iran in the Middle East, that, these guys could at least take a decent shit.